Hello and good evening. You are watching the Policy Times, world's first policy and development media. My name is Akram. I, as editor of the Policy Times, bring to you the experts from different corners of the world who really matter and who have been contributing uniquely in their own respective country, in their own region, and for the betterment of the whole world. Among all the sectors that we work, uh, through our events, conference, and global policy web talk series kind of programs, our only one aim is that through the program or through the activity, there has to be something positive achieved for our society. Now, today, as we see the whole world, the manufacturing cycle and the manufacturing format has changed and is changing dramatically with the introduction of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and new technology, and a lot of automation. We will see the next generation of manufacturing will again change dramatically. Today, China, including the Southeast Asia, may be the global center of manufacturing, and so is they are controlling the global supply chain, which shortly as the new manufacturing format or automation coming into picture, if the manufacturing shift from China to other part of the world, so will be the global supply chain. Today, global supply chain is a very important aspect of analysis. India being one of the leading or dominating countries, dominating in the sense one of the economic giants of the world, has a tremendous role to play in redefining or reshaping the global supply chain post-pandemic. So I will be very excited to hear, and but before that, to welcome two experts, one from Europe and one from India, who has been since decades working in the logistics and global supply chain and contributing immensely. And today we will hear from them how the global supply chain is shaping up or reshaping up post-pandemic, and can India be the leader of the global supply chain after or the new industry 5.0, which Michael will introduce shortly, in that era. And then if India can, then what can motivate India, or how can India be the leader? So I want to welcome two eminent experts, Michael Rada, founder of the Industry 5.0 and president of IBCSD. And I also want to welcome Ajay Saraswat, who is the Chief Executive Officer of Inter India Group, one of the leading logistics company. So I'll not go into deep into this. Now, may I welcome to both of our speakers. I'll request the first round, I'll request both of our speakers to kindly introduce yourself. Tell us about your professional journey and your vision so that our viewers know about you. In 5 minutes, then we will start the discussion. So I'll first go to our foreign guest, Michael Rada.
Thank you for having me, Akram. It's really an honor and pleasure to be in India again, virtually. I will start, my journey is not long, it's just 30 years in a business. And it started as a steel worker in a steel factory. And generally after 30 years, I had on my business card the title president, working for a second largest Japanese corporations. But the current aim, which I follow for the last 8 years, my aim is to build a wasteless world. And this is the world without waste and wasting, in which logistics play a major role. This is where, this is a job of, this is why I generally invented industrial upcycling, which is a methodology which turned 2 years later into Industry 5.0. And this is what I implement, what I founded. And I'm very happy that India is on the right way. And since last year, generally since August 21st last year, it's India for me already in the age of Industry 5.0. And that's great. And for the logistic part of view, I am educating innovations of logistics on Academy of Logistics. I am concentrating on sustainability, and I'm realizing project of global supply chain efficiency increase, plus project locally in companies and corporations and similar. That's all about me.
Thank you.
Hand over to Ajay.
Thank you, Michael. Thank you so much. Ajay.
Yeah, thank you, and namaskar from my side to everyone who is with us today. It's my privilege to be part of this great platform. As far as my journey is concerned, since last 30 years, the first 10 years has been into manufacturing, and those were the industrial probably revolution, I would say, when India was passing through. And my first break was into service industry since 99 onwards. I'm basically in the supply chain and logistics industry. There has been various segments that I have worked with. I have worked with the hardcore transportation, and I had a stint with the initial stages of Adani Port, and then Krishnapatnam Port, and with the rail operations. So basically, I've seen all the segments of transportation, and that's how it is. I have taken, as the industry has evolved, we learn every day, and today also we are learning, and probably that has brought us on this platform to see what all learnings can be brought into the present scenario and how we can take advantage from this situation. I think from here we try to make a takeoff kind, a way forward kind. All to you, Akram sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ajay, for the kind introduction, and absolutely stunning and exciting to know both of you. Now, just for our viewers, those who do not know the power and importance of logistics, logistics is the backbone of manufacturing. So if any nation wants to be the global manufacturing hub of the world, the logistics sector, we have to work tremendously. Now, what are the 2-3 aspects we have to work in the logistics, which Ajay will definitely further on this. So, for example, whether it is the movement of raw materials or final goods from one part of the country or to the other, or whether it is from one country to the world, different country of the world, firstly, the cost has to be minimal. The cost is a big factor, because see, if the transport cost is high, then the final price of the product to the customer or consumer would be also high. So if we can save a lot of money, so one is the cost of logistics we have to reduce. The second is time. We have to save a lot of time. For example, if we have to ship something from Gujarat to Kanyakumari or Gujarat to West Bengal or Northeast, the transportation time is a big factor. There are many products which should reach with a shorter period of time. The shorter period of time we can deliver, also the economic activity in the society will also go up. So these are just two short or simple example I try to raise for our viewers to understand why logistics is important. Coming to India, the next 30 to 50 years belongs to this beautiful country. The current leadership is taking a lot of actions. So India is always moving ahead, step by step. Now, the next 30 to 50 years absolutely belongs to India and South Asia. There is no doubt in that. China has done the bit. Now, to become the global manufacturing hub of the world, which India is also aspiring to be and has all the potential to be. A lot of big manufacturing companies are coming and settling up business there, whether they are automobile, even Tesla kind of projects. They are also thinking to come to Karnataka and coming. Though they are not bringing the whole full-fledged manufacturing here, but they are bringing some part of it. Now, if that can be the beginning of electric vehicle manufacturing in India, there can be many such future manufacturing products which will come to India. We have to take care of the logistics very seriously. How we can take it, and if we become a good logistics hub, we can be the hub of global supply chain. So I would first, since this is all about India, and Ajay ji actually belongs to this sector, so I would first request Ajay ji to come and give a brief about India's journey in improving India's logistics infrastructure and the supply chain, and then what are the challenges and opportunities we have to become the leader in the global supply chain, how China is doing. Then I will come to Michael to give the global perspective of this thing. So Ajay ji.
Fine. Thank you, Akram. See, typically, to assess any situation, I think one needs to first understand the ground realities. What are the problems in hand? What has been already traversed behind our back, that's already passed. So let's scan first the present situation that we are all in. The present situation, if I talk about problems, if you ask me, there are few pointers, which actually are the speed breakers or the kind of constraints or the kind of hindrances that is there on the path. First and foremost, like how Mr. Akram has made very rightly, right on the head of the nail, where the cost part, like Indian exports are not able to compete in the global market because of the increased cost. Now, that cost, if you try to analyze, the major cost is of logistics, like on a statistics, like presently the Indian logistics cost compared to GDP is around 14%, compared to a global average of around 8 to 9%. Now, this 5% gap, if you convert in terms of rupees, it comes to around $180 billion. And if we don't control it now, then probably in next 5 to 7 years, this 180 will grow to $500 million. That means that the situation for us is either it is now or it is never. That is the kind of a paradox kind of a situation that we are. So you actually speaking, we don't have a choice. We have to take action, and now is the time where we need to take action. That is one. And the second aspect is, the inefficiencies, how these costs are high, why these costs are high. The first and foremost that if you try to, like, I'm sure most of us has traveled outside, what airport is Changi, that infrastructure itself is so bewildering. It's actually make you stand in awe, like, okay, this is how an airport it can be or should be, rather. you know Now, that infrastructure, if we come back at home, you feel that there's a huge long way to go ahead. Like, we are far behind on terms of infrastructure, and those infrastructures, those inefficiencies attached to those infrastructure are making us where we increase our cost in terms of logistics. Because logistics, primarily, if you talk about any transportation or storage or distribution or your any mode of air, sea, or so, all those infrastructure plays a very major role into it. Third, that you can find, the difference between the world outside and the situation inside is the modal mix that we talk of, because that again is a very big cost center to us. Like, if you try to compare the cost of road, or you compare to the cost with rail or inland ways, there is a huge difference between the cost. Today, the situation in India is 60% of our cargo is moving by road, which is a higher cost center compared to. And that is again linked because we don't have the infrastructure or the kind of infrastructure that should be compared to globally. So that modal mix, where there are a lot of we'll talk about the solutions also. But first, let me give you an area and list of those typical major constraints, which has made the situation slightly sticky and difficult for us. So another one which I said was the infrastructure part. Third is, it's a mindset of especially with the MSMEs, which are more family owned business. They are at a level which is very considerable in terms of turnover, in terms of business, in terms of competence and capability. But what lags is the mindset of adoption of technology. People still go by experience based analytics, which in today's time doesn't hold good. It actually should be analytic based decision making, or probably data. Like, in pardon me my using word Hindi, I always say data is always data. It is not data, it is data for us. Data is giver, right? It gives you so much of insight. But still, that mindset of adoption of technology, probably every time we talk about ROI, 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 because It's a egg and chicken kind of a story in terms of technology. People say, what is my investment and what is my ROI? Now, till the time you don't use it, that ROI will never be felt. And that much of patience which you have seen in setting up the business, that patience is not, or that bandwidth is not there in terms of adoption of technology. Another aspect is the lack of, specifically on logistics, is the lack of warehousing facilities. It is slightly connected with the infrastructure, but on warehousing front, you'll be so surprised, like 30% of our agro products are, they, just because of the lack of storage facilities, they go waste. Now 30% of my production going waste because I don't have a proper warehousing facility. And that is a huge loss to the nation. And ultimately, any loss comes in terms of any kind of a cost, any kind of a cost. Another aspect is the fragmented industry breakdown. If the whole logistics industry is highly fragmented, highly fragmented. The average number of truck owners, if you talk about fleet owners, you will find many people with 8 to 10 trucks. Now, asking them optimizing their processes or asking them adapting technology, it's something, it's like asking a snail to run into like a rabbit. It's almost like that, because that mindset is not there, or they are not in a position to actually optimize, because the industry itself is so fragmented. So there is a lot of uneven mix of omni-channel partners. The entire ecosystem is highly distributed. So if you ask me on a nutshell, if we can address these major constraints, and of course the government interventions has been there in terms of policy making, in terms of many things that has been done, especially the target that has been set, is by 2022 that 14% of GDP cost should come to 10%. And that itself, by bringing those 4% GDP logistics cost compared to GDP, is bringing a saving of around 27,000 crores, mind you. And to enable that saving, how will you do it? So the government has started spending and building on infrastructure. That is why you must have, like, the net is all full with information on terms of highways, in terms of rail projects, in terms of DFCCs, RoRo surveys. They are also now trying to integrate all the links, the last mile links, which is a major cost center. Like in India today, 750 such Indian clusters are there, which doesn't have a last mile connectivity. Because of that, the cost is high. Like suppose if you ask me on a thumb rule, like suppose Meerut, now we have seen the Meerut highway coming on a rapid metro planning also, and the express highway coming. Now Meerut and Moradabad, being the Asia's biggest brass industry, this linkage should have been much ahead, and probably that is why our exports couldn't actually go globally. We are still on the Southeast Asia level. Similarly, Kishangarh in Rajasthan, it is a hub of marble for Southeast Asia. It's the biggest market. But if proper linkages would have been there, or properly we could have exploited the exports there, then we would have gone as a global major center. So the list can go endless. Like India has tremendous amounts of potential in terms of manufacturing, and these clusters, if properly linked with the gateways, with the PFTs, with the ICDs, with the airports, and with the ports, and I'm sure the cost will come down, and we'll be able to compete in the global market. So this is just as an overview that I can touch upon. We can go on and on, but I think from there, let understand our panel speaker Michael on his take on it, and then we'll definitely try to delve upon more deep in these subjects. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much for setting the tone and outlining the pain point in the Indian sector. I would have been also very happy. Maybe in the second round, I'll take the global perspective from you and the solution part. That what kind of actions now to be taken. You just slightly mentioned about GST, which can be a very important solution. In addition to many other, which I'm sure you would share in the next round. I would now go to our international speaker, Michael Rada, who introduced himself as the founder of Industry 5.0. And I'm sure the concept, the vision that Michael has set under Industry 5.0 is actually the need of the hour, and it is not just to create profit for corporates. It is actually, as he says, evolution. So we'll hear it from him. So it is actually setting the natural process of evolvement of the society. But since he also comes from the logistics sector, so Michael, give us the global outlook of the supply chain, and how do you see, and where do you see how China was the leader, and how do you see India now, next 30 to 50 years, can play a very important role in the global supply chain?
Thank you for that, and thank you, Ajay, for the introduction of Indian market, because it reminds me strongly of the situation when the communist time ended in Czech Republic in 1989, and then from communism we started to go into capitalist country, let's call it so, and we have to. So at the time we have small truckers with 5 to 10 trucks only. The infrastructure, let's say, was here because we are a small country, but was not special, and so on. So we have gone through this situation. We have learned from the mistakes. There has been many done. Many are repeated wrongly. And can you imagine that 3 years ago, you will go to your international client and you will tell him that a container from India to Europe will cost $12,000? He will send me away because at the time it cost 2,000. And in 2 years, 6 times as much expensive. And still we are importing. And still, what is worse, we are importing with the same mistakes, because AJJ knows very well that 50% of the containers, 45 to 60 generally, are going just filled with air. There is nothing inside. So the efficiency which he spoke about, it's very low, but it's not a matter of India. It's more a matter of habit. We send goods one way, we send empty. And that's wrong. And wrong it is because, again, you mentioned it, there is no communication between industries, between parties, everything is competition. Instead of cooperation, we have built a competitive world where even son fight with the father if they are in 2 companies. That's wrong. That's wrong. Even 2 colleagues in one company fight against each other instead of working together, because he is in this department and he is in the other department, and each of the departments play his own role and his own game, and it's all the time my department is the most important one. The other is not so important. It doesn't matter. So the connectivity and the communication, and that's what is missing. So I do not concentrate in any of the systematic waste prevention project. I do not concentrate on money, because money is there. The saving is all the time a lot of money. And we speak about 475 trillion US dollar a year. It is 8 times global GDP, which can be saved 8 times. When I spoke last time with a US economist, quite a well-known economist, he said, Michael, how it is possible that your estimation of the savings is 8 times of the global GDP? And then 1 minute later, he said, I know, because GDP is just trade, but you don't count just trade. You count everything what is around. I said, yes, right now you got it. And this is about communication. This is about efficiency. And this is all about waste prevention. And please do not understand waste as just the physical stuff which you throw in a garbage. There is a social waste, physical waste, social waste, urban waste. These are the missing facilities which you have mentioned. And there is a process waste. And these are the empty trucks, empty trolleys. You mentioned that 60% of your traffic goes on the road. I never know about this. But do you know how much of these trucks are empty or improperly loaded? That's a number which generally nobody take care about. European Union, a few years ago, they make a calculation on the trucks within European Union, which entire union is smaller than India. What is the efficiency or the number or the percentage of empty trucks? 64%. It's not my number, it's a number of European Commission. 64% of traffic is going with empty cars. And that's the point. Because I think that even in India, there exist properties, industrial properties, which are empty, which are brownfields. There has been built and then because not used or not profitable, they are empty. Probably will be there. I suppose not so many like in Europe or in US, but there will be there. Isn't it a brownfield a possibility to be utilized as a hub, which much lower investments because it's existing? And there are many similar things. There are, for sure, every developer, when he heard that there are not enough properties, industrial properties and warehouses, he would like to come to India, because I think your country does not lack of space. Like in Japan, they have a very reduced space, so you cannot place it just anywhere. But what is great about Japan and what we can learn about Japan, okay, if there is not space for a huge warehouse, let's make it multi-layer. In the middle of Tokyo, next to Tokyo Disneyland, is the biggest warehouse for e-retail distribution. It has 8 layers, generate 8 floors, and in every single one goes the truck. In Europe, there does not exist anything like that. It was in the past, but never goes the truck up the top. Every time there was just a lift, and lift, of course, it's an issue. It's a bottleneck because the speed of the lift, size, and so on. So the Japanese think about it and make it different. And that's exactly where the world can learn from each other. I hope that there is somebody from the government listening to this discussion, because I have one solution for Indian logistics, very fast one. Implement cargo airships. Implement a cargo airship which will have a carry weight between 50 and 100 tons at least. In Russia is being developed 600 tons. And just now I see on a face of Ajay, because he can imagine immediately how a big difference will be if you will have a possibility to ship your goods, especially the marble which you mentioned, and many others. And you don't need any road, you don't need any rail, you just need to move it up, go somewhere, not so slow like a truck or train, but it's fine, you don't need it because you deliver much more. You drop it down and you go again. Environmentally friendly, fast enough if you are planning, then fast enough, but complete logistic will change. Because until now you calculate, okay, 1 truck, 1 pallet, 1 wagon, but now you have to calculate 5 times so much. So the production must change and everything. But this is one of the solutions. And trust me, all of us, we will see the cargo airships in the air, because China is developing, French is developing, Brazil is developing, USA and Australia. Germany is touching, and Russia is quite far away. This is something what I will advise. Okay, let's go and let's fund by government this development, because it exists. You just buy it generally and you build it. And you are great and skilled builders. So let's adopt it. That will be the start when India will become one of the leading nations, and learning from the mistakes of the others. There was mentioned China. China, I deal with China for 20 years. I have partners there, I buy there, I made audits in factories and so on. The issue of China is not low quality. The issue, there are 2 issues. One is the Chinese produce a product according to the price which the buyers set. And that's wrong, because the buyers are not ready to buy a high price. So the quality is low because the price is low. It's not the matter of not being able to deliver quality goods. The second one is that Chinese manufacturers think that high quality, not high quality, high volume, quantity, high quantity is a success. No. They are not planning. And that's something what India can implement almost immediately, because it was mentioned before by Ajay that generally the small and medium enterprises do not plan properly, but planning is the core, and we have a lot of data which we can use already because we have this mobile and others and internet. I started at the time in 1990s, there was no internet, we just have a fixed line and we have had fax, but still we has been able to do international trade. And even our forefathers did international trade. India was all the time generally the cradle of a lot of things which has been exported to all around the globe. Why does it change? Because the English? No, it doesn't change because the English one came. It changed because slightly habits that someone else will do, and that the feeling that India is not strong enough, but that's not true. In my eyes, I've been never to India before, but I have so many talks with Indian businesses, industries, and people from India since last year that I am sure that India will be the next leader, because Indian industries and people are able to adapt very fast. And what is great, they never forget, you never forgot your history. And you are proud of your history. And in the history, they are the keys to the future. Just you have to find the right ones to avoid the wrong ones. And communication and the ability to work young and old together, which is in many destinations like mine. I am 50. Nobody will employ me anymore. I am too old. I am generally a social waste. But I never let myself to be a social waste, because I will deliver the results. I don't have to ask anyone whether I can do or not. I do. And I do it legally on respecting all regulations and so on. Just I break the rules. I break the rules in a way that I am using the things different way. So India is on the best way. I don't think, to correct you, Akram, I don't think you need to wait till 2030 or 2050. Not at all. Because you started already. In my eyes, last year, India started to change. And if we adopt it the right way, I call it Industry 5.0, but generally it's adopting the logic back to the business. The logic is missing. We go just for money. That's wrong. We just have to go for balance and harmony. And there is a logic is in harmony. Then you are there and you need 5 years to be really on the way. If the Chinese will continue to do it the wrong way, to pushing the quantities, it will be you who will take over because of the size, because of the ability of your people to think creatively, and because of your ability to adopt very fast. The Chinese are not so. Unfortunately, I don't have anything against them. I just know I can name the issues, but the issue is that they are not willing to accept that this is an issue. And if I do not accept my mistake, how should I correct it? That's so simple. If I do not accept it, I will never correct it the right way. And that's wrong, but you are on the right way. So that's mine. See data, increase of course, the infrastructure and so on, but to avoid, let's say, skip the needs for having road everywhere, let's go for the airship. I know the investment is there, but the investment generally can cover a huge amount of the cost, which later on can be spent on the infrastructure.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for giving the global outlook, sharing your experience of Czech Republic, Czechia, and then giving a little global view. And airship, cargo airship seems to be an exciting opportunity and alternative to the current bottleneck that we have in the sector. So I'll come back to Ajay ji now. So let us talk now the solutions. So what are the actions now at the policy level we can take, at the industry level we can take, and the financial institutions, because finance is backbone of any big initiative, because without money, no policy, no no, nothing can be achieved. So, Ajay ji, your
Sure.
solutions.
Great, great. Thank you, Michael, and thank you, Akramji, for this. Now, to take the discussion forward, we have spoken about certain issues at home and the global dimension given by Michael. Now, the way forward for us, like basically is that, first and foremost is that we need to leverage on our strengths, and the strengths are again many. The way we have problems also, but we also have a lot of advantages as far as the present conditions are concerned. First and foremost, I would say is the strong macroeconomic fundamental. We are at an economy which is okay post pandemic, and this is just a temporary thing, but we are one of the fastest growing economies. Now that fact, that our fundamentals are absolutely strong, that gives us a inherent strength, from where we can actually, because of the a firm foundation, we can actually catapult to the next level. Second is the advantage, that is India, I always say, is never a country, it is always a continent, keeping in mind the diversities. And that is our biggest strength, in unity, in diversity, that is where our strength lies. So our demographic divide, that it's a very big strength that India possesses. Our population, our people, most of them are English speaking and young workforce. That is again an advantage compared to the global scenario. Ease of doing business, like we have seen how digital has played an enabler role, where that ease, whether you are booking a ticket or booking a hotel or doing a payment, with all these things happening with Aadhaar and everything, all the initiatives, if you see, taken on digitalization on an individual level or on a society level or on a government level, it has made ease of doing things much, much better than what it was. The labor cost compared to the global scenario, we are still at cheap. There's a cheap labor, an abundance of labor is there. And we have resources, it's a natural gift given to us, like we are abundant as far as resources is concerned. And on top of it, you have a internal ever growing market of 1.3 billion population. What more you want? If you actually see, all the things that is needed for business enterprise, our hands are already full. It's only that we need to fine tune certain aspects on the constraints. So coming back on the modal mix, which is basically is a very big pain point for on the logistics, keeping in mind the logistics focus, where we need to reduce the landing cost of logistics, how we can shift the road of 60% share, can we reduce it to around 30%? And simultaneously, the rail coefficient, the ratio of rail, from 30%, it should go to 55%. So some cargo, or rather a major substantial portion of cargo should actually travel by rail rather than road. And I personally feel the kind of initiatives the Ministry of Railways and the government of India has taken last 2 3 years, in spite of pandemic, in spite of COVID lockdowns, the rail traffic has actually grown. And this is the first time we have seen, where a railborne traffic is now the basket of the goods. There were certain goods which was actually meant for for rail, which was the bulk cargo in terms of food grain, minerals, coal. These are certain cargoes which are 100% railborne. But this is the first time we are seeing there's a huge segment of cargo which has never seen rail as a mode, are now actually moving by rail. So the shift is happening as far as road and rail is concerned. That is one. Secondly, the distance, what I personally feel, on my individual level, my assessment says that probably next 5 years, anything which is moving more than 1,000 kilometers in the country will definitely try rail as an option. Today, it may not have that availability of resources or infrastructure, but the way the BG conversion is happening, the conversion of electrical subway linings are getting laid down. This entire thing is electrified, and the way the availability of wagons, which was a very big issue as far as railway is concerned, these are all has gone for a metamorphosis, and railway itself has become very user friendly. There was a time when for a distance of 100 kilometers from Kanpur to Lucknow, a loaded train, mind you, it is full of material, like somebody's stock, which is money, inventory. A loaded train is waiting for 24 hours for a distance of around 70 kilometers from Kanpur to Lucknow. And this was because it was a single line and the section is so busy. And the priority of passenger train over goods train was always overlying as far as railway is concerned. But now the situation has changed because of doubling and because of so many hurdles getting ironed out. So this shift will happen, and once this shift will happen, we will definitely see there will be a huge savings coming out of the road cost of the landing cost of logistics. That is. Third is we have seen the kind of infrastructure set by the government in terms of inland waterways. This is the first time from Varanasi via Patna directly going into Guwahati. Then there is a multimodal transshipment hub now getting developed. So it is very clear, the way forward is absolutely clear that for east and northeast, inland waterways will play a very major role. And there will be a shift of commodity. So road in the future scenario looks to me that it will probably try to contain itself more like a regional operator in the range of around 400, 500 kilometers. Because the first mile and last mile will be definitely there is a road pitching there. So probably road will play a major role in the regional or in the first mile, last mile connectivity. The main line hauls of the country will be overtaken by railways. And on top of it, with services like Roro service, where you have a truck moving ahead on the rail. So that cuts into your transit time, that cuts into my operating cost as a fleet owner. And that gives me an added advantage of having an extra turnaround, my optimization of my assets. All these factors will play a huge role in terms of cutting costs and reducing costs, basically. So this shift will happen, and things are happening. In fact, I would like to share from tomorrow. That's tomorrow, 13th. The inauguration is there of Palanpur to Rewari. The Roro service started the first time and that too on the DFC corridor, mind you, dedicated freight corridor where you don't have any hurdles. In 10 hours, you are covering a distance of around 700 kilometers, and it's a time-bound service kind. So all these things were like, if you talked me around 5 to 10 years ago, we were absolutely very skeptical about that, which will actually happen, or is it more of a paper policy? But now we are seeing things are actually transforming in realities, And we as logisticians, we need to take advantage of these happenings. We have to have a very open and flexible approach. We have to actually lay our hands on the new things that are getting developed, whether it is technology or infrastructure. And definitely everybody will benefit out of this outcome. That is one. Now, if you talk about the cost front, like if you talk about, just to give you a thumb rule kind of in, our coastal shipping is around 0.15, that is 15 paisa per ton per kilometer, compared to a rail of around 1.5 rupees per kilometer, compared to road 2.5 kilometers. Now you see the cost, where is 2 rupees 50 paisa and where is 15 paisa. So all bulk commodities, whether it is tea, which is again a very big export commodity for India, if it from Guwahati, if it comes on, which is right now on road or rail, will come on coastal, the kind of cost from 1 rupee 50 paisa to 20 paisa. So it can actually make a huge value for money in terms of the cargo, in terms of the trade, and in terms of a global scenario where our exports will be much more competitive than what they are at the present level. Now, I would also like to touch upon the geopolitical situation that is where India has again a very major role to play. Especially, we should take the advantage. We are at the cusp of change, and how do we take advantage of this cusp of change is where the decision that we need to take, and we need to take fast, as we said earlier. Take, for example, the Southeast Asian situation, where Indonesia and Vietnam is already attracting tremendous amount of investments in terms of USA, Japan. These two countries are putting a lot of investment. Bangladesh itself is coming up in a big way as far as garments is concerned. And what Bangladesh is is what India was at one particular time around 10 to 15 years. That is the kind of infrastructure there. So there's a huge potential of improvement as far as Bangladesh is concerned. And we being the neighbors, with Nepal pitching in, where there are all chances of their uh, uh, export treaties already getting signed with India. They'll be using Indian ports. So there will be a huge borderless kind of a cargo movement that will happen. And with privatization happening, probably the latest news that we probably in the last 24 hours is Concor now getting again hot with Adani and DP World as the major contenders. So a lot of things are happening. It's a very exciting phase as far as logistics industry is concerned. So with this background of Southeast Asia, with Asian countries' role, with the role of SCRI, wherein Japan, India, and Australia, their initiative on supply chain resilience initiative, all this together, it is a very clear thought process that India will play a very major role as far as the supply chain hub is concerned. It will have a very major bearing on anything and everything that happens in the region. The other aspect we should take advantage, like we should learn from the mistake. It's always clever, like you should learn from your own mistake, but then it is a smarter strategy, you learn from others' mistake. So now there is a trade-off, between US and China, which is already out. The whole globe is about aware about it. And because of that, probably India has already tasted some fruits, which Michael said, like Tesla coming in, Apple coming in, Starlink coming in, Amazon coming in with another investments of Fire TV stick. They have already started the bookings here. IKEA coming in. IKEA was never bullish about India. They took so many years researching whether they should come into India or not. And now they are actually investing in the infrastructure. So all these things are again showing, the inherent strength, the tenacity that India possesses. And we should actually take advantage of leverage of all these strengths. And I would also like to touch upon Atmanirbhar Bharat, the policy which is given by the government of India. If you see the dream of becoming self-reliant in terms of economy, in terms of infrastructure, system, demographic, and demand. It's a vision by itself, if you see, right? And with PLI and with Look East policy, with Indo-Pacific region, India playing a major role. The geopolitical situation, with all these policies, intervention, the right kind of intervention at the right time will actually make things happen in a big way. So I think we have a huge way to go. And since there is a time constant, I think I'll hand over to Mr. Akram for the further onward discussion. Thank you.
Ajay, for outstanding and very practical, pragmatic solutions, along with substantiated, logics and viewpoints, and absolutely perfect. So you also touched upon geopolitics, which again give a different kind of advantage to India. I'll come to Michael again. So any other suggestions or recommendations you'd like to do, and then we'll have.
I would like to congratulate to the first Rora service because it makes a really change. I know it. I was when it started in Czech Republic 30 years ago, and it really makes. But unfortunately, the Europe is rather small. So what you will have will be much more bigger advantage. What I would like to advise, not to forget really about, if we call it milk run systems, so generally to have every time in front of the eyes, not only one way, but all the time both ways. Because if you do not improve the efficiency, you will repeat the mistakes of the others, and that's wrong. Already the milk people or milk delivery men in UK and in wherever, they know that the work should not be go with empty hands. So this has to be done in a mind. And the second, I would like to recommend, if you start with the service and you do the service, then connect more the companies and at the starting point, at the end point, and generally to cooperate, because not every time one company can fill one truck. Okay, why shouldn't be one truck used by two companies like a groupage and similar? So these systems has to be utilized, and the data for you to be able to calculate it, and it's not easy to calculate, trust me, you have to have the data accessible. So if the companies will be ready to work with it, benefit from the huge savings which you pointed out, and they are really, really big, then they have to do something for it. And providing the data is the first step. And with this step, you can make the planning, you can make the advanced planning because there will be a lot of data. And India, for all the world, it's India, the image of data generally and IT and technology, because everything is outsourced to India. And only India is the one who is not using it. So let's use your own resources better. And that's exactly the point. So that's for me. India does not have to look at the world because it will become the world. If it will become inside strong, then all the world will be able to go to India and utilize this strength. So I will not aim so much for pushing the export itself. I will push to make India stronger, clean, of course, efficient, and then it will be the groundstone of a global development because you have the size to move the world. We don't, we are small. We are in the heart of Europe, yes. Without the heart, you cannot work as well. But you have the mass in people, in material, in quality, in raw, everything. So that's my, I will not call it advice, that's my point, which will start our journey, which we will go together. Because I feel that all three of us and many others, we speak the same language. And that's the main point. Back to you, Akram.
Thank you. Thank you, Michael. Again, giving a nice feather to the discussion. I'll come back to Ajay for the final comments because a lot has been already said. The problems we have, the pain points we have raised very nicely. Then we have very nice solution. I indeed agree that Indian Railway is so cheap. I mean, I did send some cargo from Delhi to Bengal, and it was almost negligible. The cost was almost negligible, and the time was also very nice. So time-wise and the cost-wise, absolutely, I think bang on. So if we can build that global, like the whole country railway network, where every pocket, every village, or maybe every district is connected with the railway infrastructure, especially for the logistics purpose only, I think this will boost India's. So what we actually want to achieve, this will bring in. So I'll come for the final remarks and final message. So Ajay, your message for our policymakers, your message for our industry brothers, your message for the civil society and academia. What because I believe that there are 5 important stakeholders who can play very important role to transform our society and our nation. So these are academia, industry, policymakers, civil society, community, and the international community. So your message for all these 5 important stakeholders.
Okay. For my policy makers, first, and I would like to congratulate the way the initiative has taken in framing the NLP. Though it is not yet been announced, but there's a lot of think tank, a lot of thought process has gone into it. And the national logistics policy, this is the first time, the various ministries, the Ministry of Railways, Road Transportation and Highways, Shipping and Civil Aviation, and 46 PGAs. These are all government agencies, partnering government agencies. They have all been together on a first time together working on one policy. So I'm sure once the policy is announced, because it has taken a lot of feedback from users like us and a lot of think tanks from academia and all the entire ecosystem has been taken in confidence. So I'm sure we are hoping that a very cohesive, integrated policy comes to us so that enables us to deliver what is expected from us. That is one. Secondly, as far as for my academic friends who are into teaching or probably who are undergoing through courses, see, initially or earlier, logistics was never of a choice kind. You know, it's a career option or as a study option. And this is the first time we are seeing there are specialized courses, people opting for it. You know, and from a backbench function, it has come to one of the most strategic function for any corporate. So the entire evolution that has happened is actually not an evolution as far as the industry is concerned. It is a revolution that has happened. So my best wishes that you keep on doing the researches, bringing all the aspects in terms of, especially in terms of sustainability, where I'm very passionate about it. Green logistics we are talking about. So we are trying to implement many initiatives in our day-to-day processes. Third is on the global front, as I said, like we are on a very strong foundation, and if we take the right measures and if we take the timely decision, you know, like we have to think big. That is most important. And along with big thinking, we need to act fast and very promptly. You know, we have to act better also. So probably India with a young population and with a lot of startups coming, a lot of IT capabilities, we have already proven to the world. You know, we are already in IT, we have already proven. In automobiles, we have already proven. So since we already have those kind of proven capabilities, we have to just leverage on our present strength and then take advantage of this tide which is coming in our favor. Third, I would also like to another aspect is on the industry is the reskilling of talent, manpower. You know, that is where probably technology will play a very major role. A lot of reskilling, unlearning, learning will happen. And as entrepreneurs, as businessmen, I request with folded hands that please adopt technology. Please have a very open mindset and let the professionals, young data scientists take the seat now in terms of decision making, and you go into a backbencher and you be more comfortable on the review front. Let data tell you the results and let the money coffers will fill in definitely. But have some trust on the young data scientists and the other young talent. You know, let them have a chance of driving organizations. I think with this, we need to now focus on the environmental issues as well, which is again a very major concern to everybody, and logistics plays a major role into it. So we need to think about greener technology in terms of adopting electric vehicle, which is again something on the cost front. The government is already facilitating in terms of incentives, and LNG and hydrogen is the future. So let's start thinking now, and probably we'll have the right kind of action when the time requires. I think with this, with ending note, I am very positive, very optimistic, and thank you so much, Policy Times, Mr. Akram, for giving us me an opportunity to be part of it. And we all hope for the best. We are already prepared. I would not say for the worst. We are prepared for the better, and we'll do the best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ajay, for the excellent, motivational, inspirational message that you gave in the end. I'll come to Michael. Michael, your final words.
For me, I will recommend to stay with the evolution for one reason. Every revolution is just, if you analyze the old industrial revolution, you see that they are shorter and shorter. It's a shock at the moment. I introduced Industry 5.0 into 15, just 2 years after Industry 4.0 was officially launched. So if you start an evolution, it will not stop. And you can do it faster. You have the funds. My final word is, please, do not forget that everyone, no matter whether he is a politician, academic, whether he is a businessman, stay human. Because the human inside is the most valuable in everyone. The title which we have say nothing. Generally, it's nothing, but if you remind the origin in you, you will find the solution, because the solutions are here. And if all of us, without these limits, start to cooperate, then the image which Ajay said will be fulfilled very fast, because it's not about individual. It's about all of us. And the global is to understand that there is only one home, It's called the Earth. There is no other home. And we cannot move with a rocket everyone to Mars because none of us will be able to take this time. We are generally, I am too old for that. But what we can do, we can recover the planet. And we do it only if we stop wasting of our time, of our people, if we of our resources, and if we start to utilize it the right way. And this is what logistics can help a lot if it's done the right way. And I have heard here that India is on the right way because it has professionals who know how to do it. And for the global, let's cooperate, not compete. Let's all of us build this one home together. I call it Industry 5.0 environment, but generally it's wasteless planet. And it's for all. So I thank you very much for the possibility to be here. And I am sure it's not my last discussion. And I hope that soon I will be able to come to India, see your trucks, see your roads, build your warehouses, and let's do it together. We should be the role models for all the others to follow. Thanks a lot.
Indeed. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michael, for again such a positive remarks and stretching your hand for friendship and collaboration. I think that opens a lot of window. Europe, even though it is not industrially moving, but Europe has realized it fast that massive industrialization is not solution and is not wise always, because you only need to produce how much you need to consume. You don't need to prove yourself that you got to be the world leader or you got to be the number one. This number one race never ends, because if it keeps on shifting. So the other point that I really like, sustainable living is about producing only that much, how much you need for your own consumption. So excessive production, just like excessive of anything, is bad for society. So I think India has pretty much of that, because we are a civilization of 5,000 years old, and more than that, I think 5 to 10,000 years old. And why and how a civilization survives this long is because there is huge amount of perseverance, huge amounts of patience and calmness, coolness. The culture you will find is calm. It can hold many civilizations or many societies, diverse castes, creeds together. So that's the beauty it has. And it has always been, down to earth. That's another beauty. It is never on the race to win or be the number one. It is about, like, the sustainability is there imbibed in the blood. So I think with this, Europe and India has immense areas of collaboration and synergy. So now I'll just quickly glance upon what our speaker said. A lot of areas of improvement. Our logistics cost per GDP is very high, 14%. The global is 8 to 9%. We need to work on that. India, and if we divide the question, can India be the global leader? Absolutely, it has all the potentials. Both our speakers agreed and shared. How can? So railway, I think, is a great window of opportunity. India has to imbibe it massively. In Gujarat, there are separate railways for big logistics companies like Adani. Can we have massive railway infrastructure? Let the government focus on just one thing. The second is national logistics policy, which has come. I think we need to see that how this brings change in the logistic infrastructure ecosystem. I'll end with Michael's last word, that can we have a wasteless planet? Let us prevent wastage of it. And if we can do this, green logistics, wasteless planet, and I think railway can be a good example of less pollution created logistics infrastructure. So with this, viewers, if you like discussions like this, do subscribe to Policy Times, our YouTube channel and Facebook channel. I know Our discussions are very dry and core of nation building, but let us assure you, whatever we do here, whatever we discuss, and whatever the experts who come to our show, they are the real doers of the society. And whatever discussion we do, we simply want to achieve development, betterment, and progress for our own society. Thank you.